Hello everyone, Mr. Lucky 4813 here again, back out another yapping session or whatever's on my mind. And today I want to talk to you guys about a serious problem that is in today's society/generation that I know a lot of folks, especially the young ones, are suffering through. And that is about pornography addiction and the dangers behind it and how it affects one another and not only ourselves but others. And I'm going to be talking to you about my experience with it, how I came across it, what made me get out of it, and some helpful advice/tips that I use to this very day to help me stay away from it. And I can happily say that I no longer indulge in pornography. So, without any further delay, let's get right into the discussion. So, I don't remember the specific age of whenever I came across pornography, but what I can tell you is that I was in elementary school, and I was in 4th or 5th grade. So you can kind of get an idea of how young I was, like very, very young. And before I go on, I just want to let you guys know that, growing up, even before all that, like before I got to like 4th and 5th grade, I was exposed to a lot of sexual content/media growing up, whether it was from movies, video games, even YouTube, and it wasn't anything like crazy like pornography. It was more just like small bits here and there, like randomly. And, that's nobody's fault but myself. Just curiosity got to me when I was little, and I was wondering what that was, but it didn't really catch my attention as pornography mainly. It was more just like, what is this? And then I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. But, I forgave myself as of today. I just know I was young, growing up, just trying to figure out what things were, and that's okay. So anywho, back to what I was discussing before. So yeah, I discovered pornography whenever I was in elementary school, 4th, 5th grade, and I don't know how I knew what to look up. I just knew like, okay, I think it's called this, I think this is what it's called, and I just stumbled across it. And when I first opened it, I was just like, whoa, what is this? Boobies? Naked women boobies, and people doing this stuff, like, and especially, when you're in 4th or 5th grade, your mind and body starts to develop and going through hormone changes, and, you're still learning about your stuff, you're still getting an understanding about your body, and, just discovering pornography, it was kind of like, getting on crack, obviously not really, but just that's how it was, so I remember whenever when I first did the dirty deed, I was very shocked. I was like, whoa, what is this? What? I was kind of very scared, But then day after day, I went back to it, and I, started to get an understanding of pornography, and I was like, whoa, this is actually really cool, what? Like, this is awesome, It, in a sense, it made me kind of feel good, There's this thing in our brain called dopamine, and I'm not no medical or science major, but what I do know is that the dopamine in our brain is the feel-good chemical. It releases whenever it wants you to make you feel good, and it does that whenever you do something that you enjoy, aka whether you're doing a hobby, working out, eating something really good, spending quality time with friends and family, and even pornography, and you may think like, oh, well then what's bad about that? It just makes you feel good. Well, yeah, when I was young, when I was growing up, and it would make me not feel good about it, but, let's just say that the dopamine when it comes to pornography is kind of like, how would you say, you're milking it, you're constantly milking it dry. Now, being young, you have all this energy, that you want to do, and putting your time into it, and obviously for doing pornography was nothing crazy, After doing the deed, I was like, all right, time to move along. Now, this continued on around all the way through community college, but, whenever I was like in middle school going into high school, it was starting to become a snowball effect where, the snowball was small going down the hill at first, and that was, nothing crazy. But then as time go on, and I get to my community college, and things take a turn for the worse in our world, it was a bigger snowball and something to stay away from so you don't get, killed by it or run over by it. So, but, I know that when I was like in middle school and high school, I started noticing, the small negative side effects from pornography that was affecting on me, and I'm a very anxious person, especially when it comes to sometimes meeting new people, getting to learn, get to know about them and whatnot, and, talking to the girls that I have crushes on. And I just know that, like, during those times, like, I saw girls that I liked, not for who they were, but for their looks and their bodies. And, pornography was in a sense of teaching me that, women are for objects, or people for objects. It can go both ways too, by the way. It was kind of using the other person as just to be used with, just for their looks, not for who they are. And, sometimes whenever, and I had some friends in there, female friends, and, sometimes I, talk to them, hang out, whatever, and whenever, I would go home and I felt the mood, I just sometimes would even go and, try to find an actress that looks like them, just pretty disgusting things. And so, like, it was just right there in the palm of my hands on my phone, just easy access like that. And so, as well as just like trying to talk to them, the nerve, and whenever I, try to talk to them or they weren't interested, or if they, were just friends and whatnot, and when I would feel bad, I'm like, dang, it didn't really work out as I thought, let me go make myself feel better, go watch pornography, punch the meat bag. And that just wasn't good. I would feel a little better afterwards, but, in the end, I was just like, well, still got the girl, so, and, over time, after I got into community college, the world changed, and that was COVID-19. So we were having to isolate more. I wasn't having to go to work as much, and, most of the time I was in my room on my days off, just doing schoolwork online, which I was trying to adjust to, as well as just sometimes watching pornography a lot and punching the meat bag. And, during 2020, 2021, people were like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm not having to go to work as much. I get to stay home and I get paid, all that. Like, this is awesome, Well, let me tell you, as time went on, it wasn't awesome. So I just remember at some point, just like, this is whenever pornography was starting to become more of a bigger snowball and more of a problem. And I know that I was pretty much starting to do it almost every day, multiple times a day. And it was starting to feel like a chore, really. And I was getting to the point where, like, that dopamine wasn't hitting me as much. And it got to the point where I had to pretty much watch some, more freaky things, things that to this day I'm just like, why did I watch that? I'm just so disgusted with myself to even think about, And so, in a sense, it kind of, made me feel a little more better, because I was watching something different, something more freakier to get my excitement up, but it still wasn't hitting the same, and it just wasn't hitting, and it got to the point where the things that were making me feel good, specific videos or categories, and I'm embarrassed to say, but this is what it can do to some folks, is I kept a notepad on my phone, like in the Notes app, and I had a list of all of the actresses / video links that I enjoyed, and it's kind of like stumbling upon your dad's Playboy magazines, like favorite volumes, it's kind of like that. Back in the day, it's like, it's whatever, it is just not really a big problem, but, today, if some folks found that, they would just be like, what? That is, like, gross. So that's at least the way I see it. So yeah, I had stuff like that. It was password locked to the point where I was the only one who was able to get into it. And it had a deceiving title, so nobody had an idea what it is. And yeah, so I had that. And then as time went on with COVID, I was starting to feel a little bit more sad and upset with myself. and I wasn't really finding a lot of enjoyment in life, and because in a sense, like, pornography was kind of making my source of excitement slash happiness the only thing, that pornography. And so there was a point around 2022 when, at a different job that I was working at, it wasn't doing well for me in a sense of I was just not happy with what I was doing. I, was being mistreated, taken advantage of, by a lot of the higher ups, and just rinse and repeat with a lot of things. And I just wasn't happy with what I was doing and where I was in my life. And keep in mind that I was going into a university, or transitioning into there. So going from a community college to that is a big change, with money cost and wanting to figure out what to do and what not. And, I was confused of if college was still the thing for me and all that. And, and just with on top of everything that I was suffering through, and, pornography wasn't helping. And it got to the point where I was close to, in the end of 2022 or 2023, I believe, where I was close to just clocking out, and, at some point before all that, I did try to quit pornography. I tried to basically go cold turkey, meaning that I just stopped completely. I stopped punching the meat bag, and I stopped watching pornography completely. And, it was rough, very, very rough, and I had relapses, setbacks. Sometimes I would relapse after a couple weeks, after a couple of months. And there was a point where I relapsed after a whole year of not indulging in that stuff. And that distraught me when I failed, just life being stressful. Now, watching pornography got me back into, making me feel good a little bit in the moment. But then after I was done, that post-nut clarity hit, and I was just like, why did I do that? Why? And I remember it was late at night when I did it, and I just remember after finishing, I just laid on my floor and cried about why did I do what I did. I was very upset with myself, and then I just, after a day or two, I picked myself back up and I tried again and kept going. And then that's whenever it got close to the point in the end of 2022 or 2023, and where I was close to clocking out. And so that all changed whenever I discovered about HopeCore. And I will leave a link in the description below talking about my experiences with HopeCore and how it's helped me and whatnot. And that is what helped me get out of pornography. And I'll go explain about it. So it was talking about just the negative side effects about pornography, giving some motivational quotes and tips and advice of just why it's bad for you, And this was when I was already trying to quit, so it was kind of just like a stepping stone for me as well. And just hearing about the negative side effects and what it does to you and how it makes you view things and how it makes you feel, like, I was just like, I agree with that. That's how I was feeling, and I didn't want to feel that way. And, with all on top of that, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to quit for sure. And when I did, it was much easier than the last times, with more information that I had more about pornography and why I wanted to quit it, And, during the times whenever I was quitting in the past, and whenever I was, quitting when I discovered HopeCore, I was feeling more good about myself. I had more confidence. I was, still anxious, but not as anxious when I was using pornography. And I was starting to find more enjoyment in a lot of things that I did in my life, with friends, family, my hobbies, and trying new things out. And heck, I was even able to give, not really a public speak, but I was able to give like a speech at my aunt's wedding, in front of a whole crowd. If I was watching pornography, I would have never done that. I would have never had the confidence that I had to do that. And let me tell you, I was still anxious while doing it, but I did it. And I was proud of myself to this day. I still am. So, but doing all that, I also decided to go back to the gym. And that is what helped me just take my time away from pornography and just, it just wasn't worth it. I just didn't have time. I was tired afterwards, And just slowly but surely, my life started to change. I wasn't indulging in it. I just wasn't interested. And slowly but surely, as of now, I don't watch that stuff anymore. It's disgusting. And I will tell you, some urges will come here and there to go to it, but I know that's just the devil's temptation trying to get to me, and I just tell myself, no, I'm not doing that. There's a reason why I quit, you know? Like, no, I'm just not. So, yeah, I'm happily safe to say that I no longer indulge in that stuff. I'm never going back. So, I wanted to also talk to you guys about some tips and advice about, that can help you guys stay away from pornography and help fight back with it. And one of the first things I did was I hopped on NoFap, Now you're going to hear some, mixed opinions about it. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's not worth it. Some people says it's just a waste of time, But what I say is give it a shot yourself, Like, give it a try. That's all I can say. Because, one thing that NoFap does is that it says, hey, don't watch pornography and don't punch the meat bag. However, when you're actually doing the real deal with someone you care about and you love, that's different. And, most folks say they go on NoFap or stop watching pornography on it because they said that whenever they are, indulging with the ones that they love, when they're doing the deed, it doesn't hit as same. And sometimes they have to go watch pornography to make themselves, feel better afterwards. We're just like, bro, you have your partner right there in front of you and you're not finding enjoyment out of that. Like, pornography can do that to one another. It takes away that, sense of care and love that most folks have whenever they're, doing the act with one another. It should be a special thing, and it doesn't feel that special. And the only way for them to make them feel special is to go watch pornography. Like, what? No, that's not right at all. Now, some folks will say, like, porn sometimes helps their relationships, and I say, look, if it does, good for you, I guess. But it's all just personal experience, really. And a lot of folks who I've talked to and listened to and saw and read, they said that it had negatively affected them. And when they stepped away from it, going cold turkey, not punching the meat bag, not watching pornography, they had a more enjoyable time with their partner and they love. And they started to see them more as, a person of why they love them, not just an object, as I mentioned, that porn makes others. So yeah, try to go on NoFap, go cold turkey, stop watching pornography, and, don't punch the meat bag unless you're, doing the act with an actual person. And don't count the days. I say do not count the days, because when you count the days, you're not trying to see how long you can go out without pornography. It's more of just like, what can you do in your spare time now that you're not indulging in that? Because pornography is just a big time waster, You're probably doing like 20 to 30 minutes trying to find the perfect video, or even more, just going back to back, and and just, it's not good for you. It's just a big time waster, So go indulge in some other hobbies that are more worth your time, that you actually enjoy. Go spend time with friends and family. Go out. Just do other things besides that. Because once you start doing other things that you actually enjoy, pornography is just not going to be worth your time. Another thing is try to just limit exposure to that stuff. And what I mean by that is, we live in a world where, a lot of sexual content, social media is easily accessible, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, and I've mentioned about my experiences with TikTok on there as well, and just even YouTube sometimes, and one of the things that I did to help limit my exposure to all that is any accounts or things that I saw that were very, like, just exposure to that would kind of trigger me to go back to want to watch porn, I get rid of it. Oh, there's a girl on Instagram who is in a bikini and he's showing off her body, I'm like, hey, good for you, but I'm not interested. That's just going to trigger me back, and oh, look, here's a video trying to, in a way, lure me or trigger me going back to pornography. Nope, not interested. And and Instagram and TikTok, and I'm pretty sure other social media platforms have a thing where, like, if you're showing that, if you do things where you show you're clearly not interested, like you click and it says, hey, not interested, don't show me any more of this, it will limit that stuff of exposing that stuff to you, So, and replacing all that negative or lustful things that you would see on there with more positive things that you would see, things that you actually enjoy. So, and another good advice that I've actually learned from, not personally, but I saw from a person who is very well known. He is a huge celebrity, and he has a wife and kids. Why is that important? I'll tell you here in a bit. And he's a very fit. He's a big guy. And you would think like he indulges in that. And I'm sure there's other folks out there, other celebrities or other famous people who suffer from this, but this is one who really sticks out for me. Terry Crews. Terry Crews is a well-known actor out there, and he has openly admitted that he has suffered from pornography addiction, and he got to the point where it was starting to get to him very badly that his wife was saying, "Hey, I don't know you anymore. You're having these problems," and his wife and kid left him, I believe. And he had to go to rehab. He said, enough's enough. I need to get this fixed. So when he went to rehab, did what he needed to do. One of the biggest advice that I took to heart with him was that he said self-positive talk is the most important thing, and as well as just, you don't want to talk down to yourself about whatever happened, He says he has a picture of himself as a young kid, in front of him, and it's kind of just like every single time you feel bad about yourself and you're like, you're an idiot, you're dumb, you're stupid, and everything like that. Imagine you're in front of your younger self. Like, would you tell your younger self that? Would you tell that young kid of yourself that you're dumb and you're an idiot, you're a failure? No. And that hit home for me, That hit home very much for me. So now anytime, whenever I would sometimes have relapses, and that's another thing, you're going to have relapses most likely. I hope to God you don't, but most of the time, you're going to have relapses. And just know that that's okay, because you're learning from them. You're going to learn from them. You're going to know what happened to it, what made you start going back to punching the meat bag and indulging in that stuff. And, just be like, look, it was a mistake. I now know what caused it, and I know what to stay away from, And just try not to beat yourself up about it. Pick yourself back up and just go again. And don't worry about the days of how long you've been on without it. Just keep moving forward. Simple as that. It's going to be tough a little bit, but you just have to keep going. Trust me, it's all worth it in the end. And overall, that has been my experiences with pornography and punching the meat bag with it. And overall, why it is something that you guys should stay away. It's something that I hope that no folks, especially very younglings, where they're exploring themselves, figuring out who they are still, and they're going through, their mind and bodies are still developing, it's the evil things like that are just not good for you. And, I hope that my advice and my talk with you guys, kind of gives you more insight about it, and might even help you try to stop using it, because it's not worth it in the end. Trust me, life's more than just punching the meat bag and pornography. There's more actual healthy enjoyment stuff out there that you can indulge in. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments below if other tips of advice and anything that you guys think that you may like, as well as things that you think may be helpful for other folks that may be useful when trying to engage out of pornography or get out of pornography addiction. But until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of y'all's day.